morning.
Morning.
How are you doing?
Awesome.
You have a good weekend of learning?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good because that's a good sign of leadership, potential for entrepreneurship, and a potential for you to make a difference in this world. Because that's what I believe. When you have the thirst for learning, you have the gumption and you have the right foundation to do something about what's going on in this world. So thank you for inviting me, Adrian and the team. And I'm not sure why I'm here actually, just because I was the global chair of the Entrepreneurs Organization. What I'll do today is I'll just share with you my story and my thoughts that I came to conclusions along the way, and hopefully that will help you, or that will inspire you, or that will kind of like give you little gems of learning along the way. So, I'm not a professor, not anything, just storytelling. So I'm going to show you the power of storytelling, or the power of your stories. Because I've learned so much from other people and what they've done in their lives, no matter who they are. And I hope that this will also inspire you to share your own story as well, among one another. So imagine a young girl growing up in the neighborhood of Segambut, and I was living in like a link house, single story, and our family was maybe 13 people in that one single story family house, and my dad was working, and so all my uncles and aunties was living with us, including my grandma and grandpa. So that's why there was 13 of us in the house, and I wasn't a very, what you call, active person, or I wasn't very smart. My dad kept telling me and complaining that when I was growing up, all I said was yes, no, and I don't know when I was taught to. Okay, never answer anything one. And my report cards when I was growing up in primary school was really bad. I tried to hide them before showing them to my dad. And at secondary school, wasn't a great performer in school as well, but good in sports. I was active in sports. Then I found myself going to college. I never went to the schools that my dad wanted to go to, so I did my O&A in London. And found myself in the United States because I wasn't smart enough for the English schools, and I ended up in American schools. But I blossomed in America. And, you know, having bad grades in school, and I think my dad saw me as no hope already, so he kind of gave up, right? So yeah, go to whatever school you can get into. That's what I ended up, applying to schools that were easy to get into. And I ended up doing a business degree because I wanted to do art. I wanted to do art or architecture, and he said, no, you're not smart enough. Which is true lah, my grades couldn't get me into architecture school anyway. But art, he says, oh, you cannot make a living out of art, so how to cari makan, how to get a salary and get a good job. So he said no. So growing up, self-esteem very low. Low performer in school. Okay? Active in school because that was the only fun thing I could actually enjoy. Finished school. And fast forward, a couple of years ago, this little girl found herself on the New York Stock Exchange balcony, ringing the closing bell on November 17th. Malaysian, Asian, female, no public company, don't have a business in the United States, so how did I end up there? And it was because of Entrepreneurs Organization. And we are a learning, growing organization, so we are engaging entrepreneur leaders to learn and grow together. And what we want to do is to build an influential community of entrepreneurs. And what kind of influence do we want to make? So, let me share with you the first book. Focus on your potential instead of your limitations. So with the stories that, with me being bad in school and, my dad giving up on me, if I could see just my limitations, that's how I went out to school when I went to the US. I wasn't smart. I can't do anything. So I just skate through school. But in an environment in school in the US, I really blossomed. Because it's not like memorize, and then exams at the end of the year. I think you will understand what I mean. But in the States, we had to do group work, we had to do presentations, and then your coming to school is one thing, your attendance is one thing, your projects is one thing, and then your exam. So it's 30, 30, 30, and then 10, it depends on what the professor would like to give you. So it's a very balanced kind of thing. But in the UK, when I was doing O and A level, wow, if I was sick at the last final exam at the end of the year, that's it. God case already. So that means your grade makes or break just by that one exam. And so how did I end up being an entrepreneur? So this is the story I'm going to share with you. What happened to me? And I'll show you upfront what is needed, or what I feel that were the values that kept us strong and kept us going as leading entrepreneurs around the world. As entrepreneurs, you build your own business. So when I built my own business, it's very hands-on. We did everything from back end to front end, meeting the clients, doing the sales. So we kind of know everything and want to do everything as well. So all entrepreneurs like to do hands-on work. We have the thirst for learning, which is what we do here. And this is the one that I feel is kind of missing, where we look for the triple win bottom line. It's the triple bottom line, which is what I call, where the company wins, the staff wins, your customer wins, and the community around you wins. And the belief in yourself. So when I started out, when I went to the States, I didn't believe in myself, but eventually, when I started to perform, I started to believe in myself. Having the humility to ask questions and say, okay, no, I'm not smart enough. I'm here to learn from you as well. Okay? So humility takes you a long way. And ego will cut short your journey also in many instances. Integrity is a big thing. Trust and respect. And the last one is total engagement. Risk-taking and filling a need is very important for entrepreneurs, but total engagement is key. When you engage, a lot of you are leaders here, so when you engage with your committees and your teachers and the school, or especially your parents, yeah, if you engage, you will be a far, how do you say, ready person to take on anything, because when you engage, you understand, and when you understand, you're able to fill the need. I'm showing you this up front because when you see the story, hopefully you see all these points in there. Alright, so my first entrepreneurial venture, when I came home, how did I come home from the United States? I wanted to live there. I was ready to live there. I got married in the United States, and me and my husband, both Malaysians, we were offered, my husband was offered the green card by Ernst & Young then, and so we were ready to go. But what happened? My talent for this, art and architecture somehow came out along the way. I finished the business degree. I worked for Seito, which is a Japanese trading company, and but at the end of it, I was bored to tears when I started working. And all I did was trade wood, and I don't know whether you guys know fax machine. You have iPads and iPhones and whatever, Androids. During my time, I did business using a telex machine. Anybody know what a telex machine is? Okay, telex machine is dots, pixels that create words, and we just send like fax machine, but we have to type it out at the monitor. And we didn't see anybody. It wasn't email. That was our email, I guess, at that point in time. Very, very slow. One a day you can only you can answer one another maybe in 2 hours, not instantly. That was the fastest way of communicating. And I never saw the clients. All I did was sold wood from US, Japan, and Asia, and all the softwood, hardwood, and whatever they wanted, the Japanese wanted. I sent them all along the way using the telex. And whatever orders came in, I just filled it and moved on. So I was truly bored to tears. So if this is trading, this is no fun. So I decided to do night school, to do design school. And I ended up in design school, and I'll tell you that story later. But when I finished that school, my dad was a property developer, and I did interior design at Parsons-School Design. And he found out and said, "Oh, you're very useful after all. Come home now. Come home to Malaysia now." And visit me. And this was in the early 90s, and I came home to the first Asian recession. So whatever plans that he had to build things in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, didn't pan through. So we were hanging out, no jobs, no nothing, so me and my husband grabbed the first opportunity, which was my aunt provided. She was going to give up because of the recession. So she was going to give up the little trading company, so I just had trading, experience with Sito, right? So she said, come, I have this trading company of doing gift products, fashion wear, earrings and handbags and gift wrapping paper. I'm going to sell it off, or I'm going to close it down. So me and my husband said, no job, no nothing. Okay, let's give it a go. So that was the first opportunity. So we gave it a go, and we ran it. We saw everything that she did, or what her clients was doing. Who were the clients? So her clients was Metro Jaya, Guardian, and things like that. And the fashion wear, all the retailers were too small, so we decided to cut away all the fashion because I have no idea about fashion. I'm not fashionable. I don't like all these handbag, earrings, and all that kind of thing. I focus on the things that I like, which was gift wrapping paper and gift products. Happy occasions. So I kept that, and we created Rosella. We had a retail in Bangsa. We were wholesalers. That means we sold to all the Guardians and Memory Lanes and Metro Jaya and Jaya Store and things like that. And we decided to open a retail in Bangsa to show our clients what we could do. And when she gave up, she was only like giving it packet. So we had a smart goal. Which is okay, we're gonna hit 1 million. If we hit 1 million ringgit turnover, everybody gets to go to Club Med. So we had that goal. We hit it, and this was the Club Med picture with the team. So small team sales, we did hit with just paper, gift wrapping paper, $1 item only. However, what happened? There was another recession that hit. This time it was the currency, things that we couldn't control. Where the US dollar went up, we had to pay 4 ringgit to $1 from 2 ringgit, So all my margins disappeared, my profit margin, because 2 ringgit to 4 ringgit, even our salary, we couldn't even pay the salary. So what to do? When that happened, all my stocks were like minus. Even if we were to sell everything, we still didn't have money to operate. That means pay everybody for the next year, or even pay for electricity or anything like. So we couldn't survive. So we had to cut losses. So that was my first heartbreak, having to shut this down, sell all the stocks to all my competitors who were quite willing to take my products. That was my first foray. So when I sold the Crimson Rosella, so what to do? So my dad actually started on with his property development, wanted to do a resort development in Port Dickson. So this was seaside with marina. So when we like, okay lah, have to grovel and say, okay Dad, give me a job again, what can we do to help? He says, why don't you do this? Instigate a need for my resort development, because we're going to do a marina. You try and see whether you can sell leisure boats so that people will buy the boat to park their boat in the houses that I'm going to build. That was the idea. Okay? And that failed too. That failed miserably because the houses never got built, the marina never got built. Even if they had a boat, they couldn't even park anywhere. They had to pay the appeal. There were only 2 places, Klang and Port Dickson. So that failed as well. And then, because he was a property developer, and remember I was an interior designer from New York, and he says, oh, you were useful after all, right? So why don't you come back and help me develop the things that the properties that I'm doing. So I started a company called Business Design. So I basically did the project management, did the design, and then I sold it off to him or worked with him to. So I was the back end, or I was his outsourced, basically design firm. So I worked with all these contractors, architects, and all that. And we had a great big plan to do a 40-acre in PJ Ara Damansara. So we actually built the first phase, and again, that project was sold off to a bigger company. and that company went public. So it was kind of short-lived, but I got this illusion here because whatever I wanted to build, every time I go into the management meeting to like present the ideas, it gets shot down. I wanted to build things that was handicap-friendly, environmentally friendly, child-friendly. So this was in the late, it was in the, 96, 97. Every time I go in, it says, nobody wants some stuff like that, too expensive to build, so forget about it. So everything I presented was shut down. I got so disillusioned. I said, what am I doing here then? Then I rather not be here. I want to do something else, so I did. I left my dad's company, and I went for a walkabout. And the dream that I had came to a reality. A group of entrepreneurial friends helped me along the way, and when I shared my heart and shared my fears and shared my heartbreak, he says, why don't you do it? What's keeping you from doing it? So me and my husband went back to my dad, who was so-called the expert in this industry. Says, okay, we want to do what we had in mind, what I had in mind, and have a dream. So he says, go borrow money. So instead of giving me a helping hand, his helping hand was this way. He'll teach me, okay, whatever you have right now, go and borrow it to the tilt. Because if you fail or you succeed, it's all on your own. Okay, you cannot say it was me, or your friends will not say it's me, and other people cannot say it's me. So say, okay, where do I go find pieces of land? So at that time, there was something called Dana Harta. Dana Harta had all the non-performing loans and companies with all the projects that was not going anywhere, and we found a small piece of land that we could afford, and we did it in Dutamas. So I built a community of semi-detached homes called Mesra Terrace that exactly did that. So it was completed in 2008, 58 units of detached houses. It took a long while because I took the long way of doing the project. Remember, I was doing this on my own. And my inspiration came from this. This is my mom. And that's me again. Okay? She gave birth to me as a paraplegic. That means that means my whole life, I know her as a mom on a wheelchair. So my mom and dad was childhood sweethearts, and they got married, and they had me and my brother. And I remember she wanted to have a house. Her dream was to have a house, like everybody else. When dad was successful, have a 2-story bungalow and live upstairs in the master bedroom. And when she went looking for that house, no house, she could go upstairs now. There's no private lifts. And that private lift was non-existent then. But you know what she did? She found a house in PJ, and she wanted to live in a master bedroom. She went to the factories and says, you do your goods lift, your hydraulic lift. Can you put one in my house? And she had a cage around exactly like a factory hydraulic lift. And she put it in her house and she was happy. Oh my goodness. She was smiling, and she had a master bedroom on the 2nd story bungalow like everybody else. And not only that, she was one of those very forward-thinking people. She actually was the first person who adjusted the car so that she, as a handicapped person, she could drive. So she went to Toyota factory and said, can you outfit, she found this in London, all the hand controls, and in England she can get a license to drive. So in Malaysia, she was the first one to actually get a handicap license. So she inspired me. So if my mom wanted that dream, there are families out there who also have family members who may not be able to be as mobile as we are. And that was why I wanted to build a house that was handicap-friendly, child-friendly, and environmentally friendly. And because I was exposed in the States, and passion for excellence was the in thing then, environment was the in thing there, Disney was my benchmark. I found out that they were developers, and they were doing called sustainability. That was the first time I learned about it. But that was in the 90s when I learned about it. So I benchmarked using Disney. And that's why I couldn't sleep, I worked so hard, everything that, the values that I talked about, the relationship that I have to build with the bankers, the lawyers, the contractors, especially the contractors. The Chinese-speaking community would know. They call me, Xiao Mei Mei, Xiao Mei Mei. Or even though I was the owner, they would call me little girl, little girl. And the contractor would bully me and says, oh, I've eaten more salt than you. Talk about eaten more salt than rice. So that means he had more experience than me, which is true. And I look like a little girl, so they kind of bullied me along the way. So it was a hard journey, but I managed to finish it. So this was my showroom and the gated community and courtyard. What it looked like. So it looks like a British townhouse. You know the lifts that I talked about? So don't let the non-existent product kind of keep you. So what I did was when I was planning the thing and submitting it to the DKL City Hall for approval, no lifts, right? No passenger lift. So I went to the manufacturers in town, in Malaysia, and I found Toshiba, who had a nice factory in Penang, and says, I need a lift for my houses that I'm going to build. Don't want the lift, tower room and lift that goes stick up of the building. Can you kind of like build one with a wheelchair and a caregiver can go in and put it to my houses that I'm going to build? And guess what? They said, okay! So they actually helped R&D, helped me develop it. And the picture here basically shows the launching of their home lift. So they got a new product out of this journey with me. So they launched it and they recognized working with me, R&D, for my development as the first developer to use their product. So partnering with somebody big, the worst they say is no. I could import it and bring it from Germany was the other alternative. But when they said yes, I was so thrilled. So that was amazing. And of course, the environment-friendly part, that was the expensive part or the hard journey part, because all my consultant engineers also was kind of new. What is rainwater harvesting? When I went to DPKL, the City Hall, they say, oh, cannot do rainwater harvesting, cannot approve because not in our manuals. So we brainstormed together with our engineers and called the rainwater harvesting tank a retention pond. Because it's called retention pond, it's in their guidelines. Okay, can approve. All we did was just change the name, but the tank is still there. And the way it's done is still there. And at that same point, TNB also was encouraging Surya, that means solar for energy, not solar for hot water. Then at that point in time, a lot of people did solar for hot water. But this was the first time we were rolling out solar for energy. So I got a subsidy to do it, and we put it on, and we have 9 kilowatt that we are producing. So we minus out whatever we use, whatever we create, we deduct, and so the JMB or the joint management and the common area is enjoying this part. Okay, so we did the rainwater harvesting, so that was our tank. All the roof things, the rainwater will go into the tank, and then we use it free water for everywhere, including our water fountain. That was the water tank we built. What you call double layer brick wall, so that we insulate the heat. We also did the hot water reclaim from the air conditioning, rich roof. Also, all these things were first time being used in Malaysia then. So those were the struggles we did. We had to do learning with the engineers. So even the engineers didn't know what we were doing. Architects also didn't know what we were doing. So we all had lessons together. So the suppliers would come into our meetings and we would learn together, and then we apply it into the design. So that's what we had to do. And it paid off because in 2008, our project, that was Sam. Let me show you Sam. Sam could be one of you. Sam was a student. He was on the architectural team that was put on my project. When he learned about it, he was going to Islamic University, architecture. He was doing his master's. And he says, wow, this is amazing. We want to follow through. I want to do a paper. We want to make sure we have data. We want to see whether what you're doing will work. And so he did his paper. He wrote the paper together with his team and his professors. And his paper got picked up by the World Sustainable Forum in Melbourne. So our project was actually featured as a completed project. All the others were theory. So ours was the first actual real life working model. And so he presented it in that. So that was, that's me and my husband. That was a very proud moment for us because it's like we were knocking heads with everybody, you know, architect, this, that, especially my dad. He said, see, we did it. So that was kind of nice. And many years later, in 2008, when we finished it, and we collated the story, this was the first year the Edge newspaper actually opened it to Sdn Bhd for this Developer of the Year award. And we got on. So like, wow, you know, so like different categories and then overall, okay, like 24, not too bad, top 30, but you look at the list of the people we were with, they were all public companies, and we were only a Sdn Bhd. So it's like, okay, effort pays, patience pays, alright? And what did I learn? Wow, so of that journey, that short journey that I just told you about, this is what I learned very quickly to share with you. Cash flow, very important. You must have money to pay your staff, pay your D&B bill, pay your whatever dues, and it is your oxygen. So don't just look at profit margins, because your profit margin could be there, but it doesn't get realized when you don't have money to pay your monthly needs. Failure is okay. Remember, I failed in Crimson Rosella, I failed in Constellation Marine. It's okay. When I was there at that point in time, it was really heartbreaking. Shy, didn't know where to hide my face, whether to go and see people or not, whether to go and see my dad or not. Okay? It is okay, because when you fail, you can start again and learn something new. Or people are resilient. And staff, you know, with Crimson Rosella, remember the first trading company with the gift things? So they were like family and like my baby, I didn't want to let go. So the staff are okay. Once you let them go, you kind of like, wow, she's her own accountant right now. Wow, she's running, she's a manager of another firm right now. So they all have the potential to grow as well. Time investment in relationship is very important. Relationship, you know why? Whatever you do in life, you need team. And I think the FIFA guy basically talked about teamwork, right? Okay, that's when you have a team, a football team. But in life, when you get married, your family is your team. When you start your company, everything is your team. You need team. In college, you work with teams, even to get your grades, right? So you need to build relationships. So your relationships are very important, and that cannot be, how do you say, secondary? Actually, to me, that's primary. And once you break a relationship, whether it's partners or family, it takes years to rebuild them. And don't get emotionally attached to your businesses, especially entrepreneurs in here. When you build your business, and the first one especially wants to fail already and needs to close, just let it go. Let it go, let it go. Okay, and this is the biggest lesson. Read and understand your legal documents. So when you're on your own, you don't have lawyers behind you, or if you can hire them, but if you don't have money, right, you really have to read your legal documents, understand them. Even if you don't, your resources are your friends. So get a legal friend who's a lawyer, ask them to explain it to you, what's going on. Because that is what nearly killed me. So I nearly went under, nearly went bankrupt, but somehow when you're resourceful, you know what to do, you wouldn't get more money, and I paid like 16% loan just to survive. So, right. So with that, next question is, what do you do? When I was going through all those things, right, you feel all the emotional burden, the hurts and everything. When you're in there, you like don't want to wake up anymore. But when you look backwards, when I look backwards in my life, I say, wow, all those are experiences that you have, that is in your backpack, that is, you already, how do you say, your experience are your resume. You already have it in your backpack. You know what it felt like, you know what you did wrong, or you know what you did right, and you can always take it and bring it out again and you'll be useful. It's like riding a bicycle because you had experienced it before. So he said, you know, this is the Stanford commencement, but this is the part that I love. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect it looking backwards. You have to trust them and that in the future it will be connected. So you have to trust in something. Your gut, your destiny, your life, your karma, whatever it is, this approach has never let him down. It had made a difference in his life. Okay, so the gut thing, when I wanted to do the development, it was a passion that I wanted to see through. It was a dream I wanted to see through. Will it work? Was there supportive people? No. So a lot of people thought I was crazy. But my husband was very, very, very supportive. So, if I can share this model with you, every opportunity will lead you to find your hidden talents, or will exercise the talents you already have. And when you exercise the talents, you will get some sort of a success. But the success may not be the success you think. The nice car in the garage, the nice bungalow. Success comes in various different ways. My success now is happy relationships. You're not happy, you can't be happy 100% of the time, but good relationships, people that you can rely on, that will be there for you in bad times. Alright? The car will not comfort you. The house will not comfort you. It is the family. So if you gain success and then suddenly like this currency crisis comes, and then you lose everything and then you turn around, your family is not there to put a roof over your head or to feed you. It is them who can actually feed you when you have no more money already. Right? So, success, you have to ask that. What is success to you? If you know that earlier, it will be much easier. You won't feel the pain. Alright? So, what is potential? Potential is having the possibility, capability, or the power. But the power for what? To grow, to develop. Okay, something is making noise back there. Alright. So that is the potential. So all of you have great potential. Are you doing anything about it? So, potential, in order to build your potential, this is what Winston Churchill said. Continuous effort, not strength, not intelligence is the key to unlocking our potential. Wow! Then when can we go to school? Right? Then so what is the wisdom behind school? It's to build your foundation of intelligence. You still need intelligence, but it's not the only thing that will take you there. You need everything. That's why remember the balance, right? So it's everything, but it's the continuous effort. So you fail, you pick yourself up, you do again. And okay, I have to pitch this right now, because you're all going into the job market, right? The issues that a lot of us have, entrepreneurs, is the value of hard work. I know all of you come out want a nice salary and like a glamorous job. Not everybody has that opportunity. You're fighting for a small window of opportunity, whether it's the big 4 or big 8, and then the rest of us are entrepreneurs. And when we hire you, we want hard-working guys who are willing to do the job. Remember, hands-on? That's what we see. If you're not hands-on, you're not of no use to any company. Alright? So, continuous effort. You have to work at it. So, first thing, opportunity. So I already said, opportunity come your way. You just have to step out of your comfort zone, learn new things, discover, try, taste, experiment. Okay? Give you an example. Alright, so I was doing my first phase already. Opportunity come, knocking. You see these houses here? I'm in Kitamas, so then it was next to Segambut. I was almost finishing the first project, and then my neighbors came to me, 10 families, kampong families. They've been there since, since the 60s or 50s. So the house existed there then already. So we were all building around it like KL lah. You slowly get rid of the old neighborhood. But they were then it was the plots of land that was very long and narrow. Even my property was 2 long pieces combined together. So this was the 3rd piece. They came to me and says, Miss Tana, Miss Rosemary, please help us. 10 of us, we bought the houses from this landowner, but she didn't give us any title. So we cannot will our house to our kids. So we don't have real assets. It's just an S&P. Can you please buy this out? You do whatever you want to do with it, so that we can go buy real houses that we can pass on to our kids. Assets. And I says, actually at that point in time I was going to give up already, remember? I nearly went bankrupt because of my first phase. I had to borrow the 16%. And I was really tired. I didn't want to do it anymore. But when it came to me, I was like, the heart didn't sit right. So if I don't do, then they'll be stuck forever, And then if they are stuck forever, they can't convert. Legally, I talked to a few lawyers and said how I can help them. Can they, I don't have to get involved, they just talk to the landowner. And it's not easy. So what happened was, I sat down with the landowner. Actually, they came to me and said, you talk to the landowner, okay? Because the landlady is actually very, she was known as the neighborhood Omo lady. So all the kampung folks here didn't want to go and see her, didn't want to offend her. That means, for the foreigners, it's the witch doctor of the area. So this is, you talk to her, we don't talk to her, so you buy the land from her and you buy the houses from us, okay? So it was a tough call. And then our homeowners here would get this house stuck there forever next to them. Such nice value houses. So maybe it'll pull down my value. It's like, okay, maybe I should do something. So I went to DBKL. So can amalgamate, can we do something? So it was a 3-party, So this is where I learned about the win-win-win situation. So if I did it, my homeowners will win. They will win. Okay lah, landowner also will win because she got a lot of money for the land. And then the whole neighborhood would look different. And I decided to go for it. So I did. It was painful, so I managed to plan, and DBKL actually allowed me to do this because you normally need a setback and all that. So I had to amalgamate so that the road that they use is actually the first phase road. Then I had a problem with the first phase guys to ask permission from them, can I do this? Because I really sold it to them without them knowing that, the next 18 units will come along. So I did, I finished it. As such a relief. And it worked. We're happy. The neighborhood looks different. And it's just hard to pass by. Because I wouldn't have slept well if I didn't do it. I would have a regret. Big regret. The opportunity that came along in EO came in the form of this. When I joined, you guys are officers, right? In committees and clubs and things like that. Who are involved with extracurricular activities in school?
Everyone.
All of you, okay, right? Okay, so you're serving either as a secretary or a learning or membership or something along that line, correct? Okay, so I was given the job of forum chair in this entrepreneurs organization. So, and I didn't know anything about the job. So I wanted to learn what is this forum all about. So I crashed a training trainers in Manila, went to learn what it is all about. And that's when I fell in love with this thing called forum, which is how we equip one another to talk to one another in a small group so that we uphold one another in our entrepreneurial journey. And that led me to training around the world. And the toughest part, so in in the entrepreneurs organization, they need trainers to go around to tell people how to function within their small group, not to offend one another, so that they can truly be a community of encouragers. So they took me around the world, including Jakarta, Japan, all the way. Now this is very significant to me. I want to tell you the story of this. So culturally, in Pakistan, number one, all the trainers from the rest of the world didn't want to go there because it's dangerous. And then I did tell my dad, and then when I came from my dad, what? You went to Pakistan? You're not afraid, ah? And he says no. And then the culture is very man-oriented, and I think the Muslim women would know that we can't even sit together in Pakistan, right? And the fact that I did the training with them, the men, and I also did it with the spouses. But when we go out for lunch or dinner, we cannot sit together. The ladies would sit aside, and the men would sit separately. But when we came to a learning event, which was, I was a member, my husband was not a member. And this was after a training on the next day. And this was, the speaker was somebody from World Bank that was doing, imparting about finance and things like that. And I wasn't too sure what to do. So I was sitting with the spouses on the peripheral and didn't want to say anything. But when they invited me, so the president came and invited me, please come into a learning event and sit with us. So when I sat with them on that mat, on that table, that was a huge honor. That was a sense of acceptance that I don't know how to explain. It's like you have to experience it to kind of know it. But it was because I willingly gave myself in terms of training and in appreciation and in respect. They invited me to the table. So that is a special memory for me. Next, talents. All right, all of you have talents. You agree? You're good in something. Yeah? Okay, so have you heard about the parable of the talents? Okay, those who are Bible reading, you go to Matthew or Luke, Matthew 25 or Luke 14 or 15. Okay, so everybody is given talents, right? So the parable is the master has 3 servants, and the master will give talents to the 3 masters, but according to the masters think what they have, the abilities they have. So one he gave 5, one he gave 3, I think 3 or 2, and then the other guy he gave 1. So he went away and says, okay, now you do something about it. And he went away, the 3 servants, actually the guy who was given 5, when he did stuff, businesses, whatever it was, he came back and he multiplied it by 2, so he had another 5. The guy with the 3 did the same thing, whatever he could, he multiplied it and times it by 2, and he got another 3. But the servant who had the 1 talent was given the 1 talent. You know what he did? He dug a hole in the sand, he hid the talent until the master came back. And the master came back and asked for accountability. And the master asked, so what did you do? So the servant said, I multiplied it and I got you another 5. And master said, wow, very good, I'm going to give you more. The guy with the 3 did the same thing. Master, I reproduced and got 3 more bags of gold for you. And the master said, well done, my servant, and he gave him more. But the servant with the 1 came, Master, I'm so afraid that you'll scold me and just get disappointment. So I want to keep it safe, so I buried it. Here's your talent back. And he scolded that servant with the 1 talent. You're wicked servant. That 1 talent you couldn't even reproduce. He took it away and gave it to the servant with the first servant with multiplied the 5. And he says that whatever that is given to you, you're responsible for it. So the talents that you're given, you're responsible for it. Are you hiding it? Are you digging it and hiding it? Because it is no use to the community. It is no use to the family. You have so much potential, and you're supposed to multiply that. So remember, I told you that I had that hidden design talent. The heart was already planted when I was born. I was good in arts. I love buildings. I always went to visit buildings and show houses, even when I was in college. And this quote kind of like really jumped out at me. Comes a moment in time. This is Winston Churchill again. A moment for which every person are made for. If he seizes that special opportunity, he will find that he will fulfill the mission for which he is uniquely qualified. And in that moment, you will find that it has been his finest hour. So I was born in that Seito, remember? So I went to night school. And the night school happened to be run by Parsons School of Design. And the teacher spotted my talent. I didn't know I had it. So he says, I think you are good enough, why don't you go for the degree? So she helped me put together my portfolio, applied into the school, and I got in. At that point in time, I didn't know what was Parsons School of Design. But when I got in and everybody told me, wow, you're from Parsons School of Design? And I'm still amazed. You know anyway, the TV show, the fashion show? Yes? Okay. Project Runway. That's my school. Okay. And then the talents that I had as a developer or whatnot came into play. Remember, I was doing my development, so I had all the resources in front of me. I was with Kiwanis. Kiwanis was doing Down Syndrome Center. And so they were going to build this new center, and I was building my nursery terrace at that point in time. And so as a member, it says, how can I help? And they says, why don't you project manage this as well? So I did. And of course, when we tried to build, we asked for donations and raised donations. So instead of asking for donations, what I did was, I asked my contractors to give free breaks free paint architects, can you please be the free architect, you don't charge money, be the architect of the project. You know what I did? I asked everybody, and you know what? 90% of them said yes. They will do, they will help. And we did. So while we were building Nursery Terrace, we helped build this, the Down Syndrome Center. And remember all the three things that I wanted to impact. Children, handicap friendly, and environmentally friendly. So when I did the launch of my project, I recognized all three to give them airtime so that people know that they exist. Okay. So these are the things you can do. Your passion, your talent, all welded up together with your work. All right. So opportunity to use your talent for others. All right. And look at the resources you have around you. And every time you do that, you find new potential. And another example is seeing potential in others, talents in others. So in Entrepreneurs Organization, a few of us got together, wanted to do a special project. So this is what kind of special project? We want to impact people, community. So we did a TED program, Teenage Entrepreneur Development Program. The only difference is the communities that we impacted were homes. So we asked homes, teenagers, would you like to get involved in an entrepreneurial project? And they said yes. So this was the School of the Deaf. And they wanted to do a hamper business. And another one wanted to do recycling, the boys' home. And the girls' home wanted to do crafts. And another one was the Yawa, Youth for Environment. And they wanted to do a t-shirt painting project for parties and events. So they were the winning team. So we did it as a project for 4 months. Each forum group, each entrepreneur membership group, nurtured and mentored one group. From ground zero, from their plans in their head into reality. And this group actually turned over 74,000 ringgit in 4 months. And they're all teenagers in the School of the Deaf. So deaf kids, can they be entrepreneurs? Why not? They won. Of all the 4 groups, we had a gala dinner that was our late king. And there was Su Chin, who was the captain, who was deaf. And the seed that we planted then flourished. I didn't know that the seed we planted, when I went back to see them again 10 years later, 14 years later actually, they started a bakery. And not only that, so all these are, the students all grown up already. So this one and another chap was the original team from, both of them were the original team from the Silent Teddies. And so member from Vancouver came, that's why I went to see them. And at that point in time, they were fulfilling an order for Air Asia. And the bakery flourished, and now they want to do a cafe. And they are all hearing CAD. So, potential and talents can be for everybody. Just because they have a challenge or a disability doesn't mean they can't be an entrepreneur. So we're very proud of that. So leadership, you guys are all leaders, is unlocking people's potential so that they can become better. So you're here to help each other become better. But in order to get there, you like iron sharpens iron. Sometimes you have to go through the fire. Sometimes you go through conflicts. But you will learn through the conflicts. You have to, your attitude makes a big difference, how you come out of it. And the last one, success. So what is success to you? This is what Jim Carrey said. So go Google this movie lah. See his, very funny. So how would you save the world? What do you need? What do you need that your talent can provide? Now each of you have different talents. When you work in a team, you know that all of you are not good at math. One guy is really good at math. One guy is really good at organizing. One guy is really good at talking and going out to sell. And you need that team member to work a project. Same in life. And what effect will you have on others? That's the most valuable currency. That's what I'm coming to. So it's not just the money. Yes, you need the cash flow. You need the profitability. But you also need the people around you. So what effect will you leave on other people's lives? So when the doors of opportunity open in real life, walk through them. So when people say, do this, they say, ayah tak mau lah, mafan lah, you know, not enough time. You can actually budget your time, prioritize your time. You just have to look at it differently. When you're ready to and able to do beautiful things in the world, and after you walk through the doors today, you will only have two choices: love or fear. And Jim Carrey says, choose love. Don't let fear turn you against your full potential. He said playful heart. I translate that as potential. You can Google it, only write down. And the whole transcript is there for you. Have a look at it. Now what does he mean by choose love? Choose love is another word for the win-win-win situation. When your vision is love, you know, so what will it do to my neighbor? What will it do to my suppliers? What will it do here and there? So that leads me to the last link. The success. Why am I here? Because I was the global chair. I was the immediate past president of the Entrepreneurs Organization. And I think the MC was saying that yes, we are 10,000 members globally. Right? Collectively, we are in 46 countries, 142 chapters. Our turnover, if we collectively look at it, is 536 billion, employing 2.4 and more. And if we look at GDP, so we are just below Sweden, this is 2013 list, and just above Nigeria, 522 US billion. That is the impact that EO can have around the world. So of all the things that I did, all the opportunities given to me, like the forum training, I said yes. They asked me to do an event in Sandakan, because I loved, I was with WWF then. I wanted to feature Sandakan, take them into the wild and see the river safari, see our elephants and orangutans and things like that. So I actually did a learning event for EO in the jungle. No hotel, no nothing. And that was out of the box. That was a new experiment, new experience, and they loved it. All I did was keep saying yes. So, can you help us organize this? I said yes. Can you do this? And I said yes. Can you be the, treasurer? Okay, that one, not good at numbers. But I said yes. You know what? I wanted to learn how to read my, remember I had my problem with my accounts, I nearly lost it all. So my chapter says, why don't you become treasurer? I think I better, because I nearly lost it all, I must learn how to read all my account statements. So I actually did it to learn. And so all I did was just be a willing volunteer. And it led me to lead the organization. So whatever I did, somebody must have saw it right, or you call it stars align. So they gave me the opportunity to lead the organization. First Asian woman, 28-year-old organization, and of Of course, it was birthed US, a lot of US or North American leaders. But this was a tough journey because it was global, like your room. You have 26 countries represented here? 24. And do you know the diversity of thoughts, the diversity of desires, the diversity of languages and understanding and culture and values all came in and like either clash, but how do you make it all work? That's the challenge. Okay, so okay lah, how do you create peace on earth? Not easy, right? So when I experience this, it's not easy at all. So if we can't even do it in Malaysia, how to do it? Malaysia is such a multicultural thing already. So it's like we strive to understand one another. And leading leaders is one of the privilege, one of the greatest honor. And it wasn't easy. So diversity is a strength. Okay, diversity is a strength. So please do have women in your group because we do provide a different perspective in everything that we do. What a board meeting looks like. So I have to work with a professional ED board. These are professional teams that are paid money to be there, and they're not. They're paid, these are paid a lot of money, okay. And then all of them from different countries. So we have about 6 different countries represented on the 9-person board. I have to work with the staff, the global staff, which is based in Washington DC. So I don't see them all the time. I don't have to be based there, but I have to be on calls to them. And whenever they have a staff gathering, the whole world gets together, so I'm there. But I only have a temporary, I only had a 3-year board service. And I was only a chair for 1 year, so the kind of succession planning is very good. But engaging, remember engaging? When you don't engage the staff don't understand you, they don't understand you, they fear you. When they don't understand you, they fear you. Same with relationship. When your wife don't understand you, something will go wrong. Whether it's out of fear, out of taking control or whatever, remember that. Okay? That allowed me to take the stage. So I was all over the world, from Mexico to China to Dublin, Osaka to Africa. Huge honor. And remember where it came from, where it started? That little girl on that little car. Very low self-esteem. Everybody says stupid or not good. Why your report card like that? So your past does not mean your future will be the same. You can make a difference in your own lives. Okay. So this is me among the giants. That's the guys, my past leaders. So this was in the New York Stock Exchange, different hall. But I felt totally intimidated. I was like David among Goliaths. And the media exposure that they put me through, because I had to speak for the organization. And we had the privilege of, so I had amazing opportunities. You know, this was crazy. I went for a board meeting and they said, you're okay, to about 3 weeks notice, you're going to talk about your property. They got me on the spot on the property news in Sydney. So that was Sky News. Of course, BFM. So if you Google the videos, this was New York City. We were in New York City in a room like a studio, and wow, the power of internet. So we had 20-something studios call in, whether radio or TV, did live or recorded, and both of us. This is Claire, my next chair from Canada, and we talked about the organization. So every segment was about 3 to 5 minutes, and we talked to 20-odd channels and 20-odd cable TVs and 20-odd radio stations, all from one little room in New York City. That was so amazing. It can be done. Actually, there's a service here in Auckland too. So anyone wants to take that on. So then GSEA. So as an organization, we try to build the ecology of entrepreneurs. So any one of you have a business that's going right now as a student? Okay, we're running a GSEA, Global Student Entrepreneur Award program. Actually, the closing deadline just passed October 1st. but you compete among student entrepreneurs around the world. And if you win in Malaysia, we'll send you to Washington DC to compete with the rest of the world. But the exposure that you get, I don't know whether you know Jazz. Jazz was actually one of our finalists from Malaysia. So because of that exposure, that's why her company has gone crazy, because she's learned from so many people around the world. Right? Okay. And this was my highlight. Athens, Greece. This was the board that I had to introduce. In and out, so my board and the incoming board, where 1,200 global leaders from all over the world came together to learn how to be officers of entrepreneurs organizations in their own chapters. And imagine the impact and the influence. Now, you can be one of them. You can be me. Okay? The potential is there. It's in your hands. So this is one of my favorite quotes, Bill Hybel. The more varied your environments in which you exercise your leadership gifts, the stronger the gift will become, and you will become a more effective leader. The more varied the environment. So the school is a great training ground. You involve in so many societies. In secondary schools, if you're great at sports, you know that when you go for work, right, when you look at your resume, when the employees look at your resume, they're looking how balanced you are, whether you actually get involved in everything. So you don't have to be smart, to be totally smart, like a genius. A genius has a different talent, different potential, different purpose. So you go there to create the next, what do you call, cure for Ebola. Okay. Or you could be the next person, when you're a genius, you're the next person who will take people travel into space, which is already happening, right? So what is your purpose in life? So to tie in with your theme for this conference, leadership to start an action. You have to do it. Like Nike said, just do it lah. Okay? Why do it? Entrepreneurship. If you want to be an entrepreneurship, you need boldness. You have to take a bold step to solve a problem or to meet a need. If you do something else that's fancy, it won't last long. There's no sustainability if you don't have market who wants it. And the community service part of it, if you have a heart for community service, you have a heart to see the triple win in everything that we do. So, to end, the life is the journey, not the destination. So if you want to be the princess swept off by the prince and live in a nice castle, that is a destination. But if every guy come along and say, oh, he's not good enough. Oh, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. You missed out in your journey. Because if your perfect person is not out there, what happens? You missed out in the life. You missed out everything that God has given you along the way. And say, these are the gifts that I've given you, but you didn't take it. You didn't accept it. Okay? So, this is my conclusion in terms of how I see things. See the world with endless possibility. Please ask questions, because it's never a dumb question. Every question is trying to meet your need or your curiosity. And who knows? Who knows where it'll lead to? See the world from a different perspective, okay? So put yourself in other people's shoes. So the term that I just learned recently is to smell the slums. You know about the stories all around the world, but have you actually walked into a slum? What do they need? They need water, they need running water. So people are trying to meet those needs. But if you don't know what are the needs out there, you don't go out and jalan-jalan, you don't go out to experience, you don't go out to see, how do you know? So yes, you can Google, but experience pays. Experience exponentially, you will see 360 degrees of something that's going on. When you Google something, you only see 2D. That's the big difference, okay? attitude of service. How can I help? Have that. If you don't have that, then all you want is everything is me. Guess what? To be successful is we. W-E. You have to think about the triple win. What is it in store for all of us? And then be grounded physically, emotionally, spiritually. So in the beginning when I started work, I did like 18 hours, never slept, maybe slept 3 hours. And then I got unhealthy. I got high blood pressure, I got whatever lah. Lucky no diabetes, but high blood pressure. I had thyroid problem. So when you're unhealthy, you cannot be successful. It's very short-lived. So don't do that. Be emotionally strong. And then surround yourself with encouraging peers. That's what you have here. So keep talking to one another. And remember when I said life is about teamwork? Yeah. So you need each other. You need each other for financial success, closing a deal, all the parts and departments, even families. And I like the African term, it takes a village to raise a child. Is it? Did I get it right? Something like that? Right? But that's where I learned it. It takes a village to raise a child. So it takes the whole world to make a difference. And you play a part in making that change. So that's the challenge. Be the change maker and create your own ripples of change. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Jume. I'm from Davis University doing journalism.
Oh, journalism.
Yeah.
You have voice.
It's in the book. So I actually found out about mature theories a few months ago, and I'm really glad to have met you, the person behind this. And I was really intrigued by the whole concept of the neighborhood and water harvesting and all that. So really nice to meet you here.
Thank you.
And you said we had several issues with the project, and you were almost going bankrupt. How do you overcome that? You must be really down. You must be really down that point.
Yes. That's why part of my conclusion was this part. Be grounded physically, emotionally, spiritually. So when the world crashes around you, my first experience of that was didn't want to wake up, didn't want to see anybody, right? The second experience when I nearly went bankrupt was suicidal because ashamed already. How to face your husband, how to face your father and all that kind of stuff. So this part I will share my spiritual journey. So I actually accepted Christ when I was 9 years old. But what I did was, I just went to church. I just did church. I didn't understand what it means to be a Christian. So when I went through my first downturn, I was looking for something else. So I couldn't go back to that. I couldn't, because I had, when you're not balanced, you also have problem with the husband. The husband don't understand you, or he also has his own problem. It was tough talking to my husband. So even my relationship also had problems. So I had no one else to turn to. So I had to turn back to God. So when I went looking for Him again, when I learned what it means to have a relationship with God, that whatever I do, if I believe and have faith that He will pull me through, then I have to depend on that. So that's what I depended on. I depended on God. I depended on Christ. And then when I was sick, right, then I learned not to do that again. My husband still saying, okay, must sleep, must sleep enough. Right now, I'm still having about 5 hours sleep. Not good enough. You really need your 8 hours sleep. And not only that, so I learned a lesson also because I experienced cancer. So I experienced first phase cancer, but overcome already. So far free and clear. So praise God. Surround yourself with peers. So I had a group of peers that kept checking on me. So when I was down and out, I went look for God. I had a group of peers that said, never mind, try again. You did it before, do it again. And we'll be here. So they were there physically. They couldn't help me, give me money or whatever, that kind of stuff. They were there to give me hugs or give me words of encouragement and give me connections. Or you want bankers? Okay, we'll connect you with them. So what happened was the contractor I tendered out the contract. The contractor didn't have money to finish. So the agreements that I was talking about cannot back out. He actually held my site. I couldn't take it back from him because legally when I gave the contract to him, he controls my site. I didn't know that. So he blackmailed me in saying that if you don't pay me extra because you needed money, I won't give your site back to you. So that's when boldness had to come in. And having to go and talk to this contractor who, you remember, bully you and that kind of stuff, bully me, and talk to you like very intimidatingly. And then you hear stories about contractor can do anything to you and harm you, that kind of stuff. So I have to pluck up the boldness. Because of that spiritual faith, whatever happens, happens so. So if I go to him towards that, he will take advantage. We will go to the lawsuit, I will sue him, and then you go into all that. And then my owners who already signed with me, I had to pay them late delivery charges. It's another 10% if I'm late. So that's when my dad came in and tried to save me and said, okay, go look for loan. So that was the connection. So he introduced me to companies because the banks will not touch me anymore. Okay, they already know it's non-performing loan. So I had to go to corporations who would trust me to carry through. So that's why the interest that they charge was so high. We started with 18% and then they had milestones. So if I sold enough so that I can pay for my contractor, then they release more, something like that. Something crazy lah. So I did that. So I went and found a corporation who would loan me money. Don't go to Along now, please. The interest rate there and their rates are crazy, even worse than the corporations. So I did that. The milestones were easy to understand. I could achieve that. So I took the loan. I found another contractor. And it happened to be my uncle, who was my contractor, who was willing to bail me up. He came in. So I didn't have to pay him as fast as everybody else who normally is a commercial contractor. So everybody had to help him. So he helped me overcome that part. I had the loan, finished it, and the banks had to negotiate the banks to kind of like, so that I'm no longer considered a non-performing loan, so I actually did that. And so you have to go into the clues in your agreement. It says, yeah, but you didn't do this part. So as the bank, they also didn't do their part. In whatever I paid them, it went to the wrong account. So I caught that. So they were also got in a bind. So all together, all these things slowly overcame. I finished, I delivered, I wasn't hit LAD. LAD is late delivery charges. And I delivered the houses. I didn't make any money. I actually lost a little bit. And then when the second phase came along, remember the 10 couple houses? That was my saving grace. I think it was God showing me that because I went through all that adversity, this is your second chance. This is His gift to me. I didn't see it that way, you know. When they came to me, I said, I have to deal with another group of people. I don't want that. I don't want anymore. But when I sat down and reflected, maybe this is another opportunity. So do I take it or not? So I took it. Because all I saw was a win-win-win. If I fail, then at least I tried. But if I did it and I successfully did it, they win, my homeowners win, and the community wins. That's how I look at it.
Student of Broadcasting and Film from KLMU. Like you said, you love art, same as me. I love art too, and I'm taking also in art. So before this, I always think that art and entrepreneurship is two different paths, because parents always against it when the children say that they want to do some art course. No profit, right? So how you decide to take art, right? So how actually you manage to convince your dad for taking that art?
Right.
And how you meet those people that giving you opportunities. That's all.
Which opportunities?
You said that you have no company, and then they are invite you to yeah.
The New York Stock Exchange?
Yeah.
Alright.
Thank you.
Okay, the art thing, that's a tough call, but today I think you're in a much better environment. Because you're doing film or media. Film, right? Okay, that's another creative outlet. You know, in my 6 months walkabout when I left my dad, I actually went to TV3 school as an adult. So those were the crazy things I wanted to explore. I was very good at putting videos together, but I lost that touch because I got busy doing other things. But I want to go back to do that again. So even as an adult, I want to learn. So I would like to pursue that one day. But art, right now, if you look around the world, to convince your parents is much easier today than then. Because then, very few women icons or people that you can look up to or Google and find, right? So now women is a lot more. But you know where the money makers is actually in the creative side. Whether it's the film, the fashion, the whatnot. It's meeting the needs. If people want to buy a product, you will succeed. Even food. So today is do your research, right? So when you talk, I had a question, how do I convince my parents? Basically, if you do research, talk to them and say, this is what you want to pursue. And look at all these people who have done successful in this field, all right? Even in Malaysia, you have women entrepreneurs who are pretty good in creative side. Okay, the famous one like Zhang Toy, Jimmy Choo's, all came from basically using their talents, starting small and then became famous, right? And then they became famous overseas because Malaysians didn't look at them and they all Malaysian, no class, no quality. But when the whole world paid attention to them, they became the world icons. So if they can be your inspiration, Malaysian-born talent can become world famous. Look at those examples. Okay, look at those. Find your own examples. When they say look for mentors, so even though the mentors cannot be physically there, look for these people that inspire you. Follow their story, follow their tweets. Now you follow tweets. Last time nothing. We don't even have Google. Not my time, right? So be resourceful. Use it. How did the opportunity come? All I did was just beat the need. When I'm needed, I just go for it. Opportunity open, I walk through it. I took the door, I opened the door, I opened window. So even, remember like the lifts, when the window wasn't open, I go and knock. And then when I knock, it actually opened. So Toshiba actually said, yes, I'll develop it. This is just asking. Boleh ke tak? Boleh saya cuba ke tak? Okay. So, if you like media and you like art, what is it that combines? Last time we had an art gallery in Bangsa. I love art salon. And every artist that I meet there is very struggling because art wasn't a community there. But if you look at the Malaysian art scene right now, every artist that come out, their price tag per art piece was 10 times or 20 times more than when I saw them in the beginning. So if you go to art gallery now, nothing more, less than 5,000. When I started, when I went to an art gallery, there were paintings I could find for 800 ringgit. So what is happening to the industry? Go and look, right? So do your research, do your walking. Okay. So find icons. There are out there.
Thank you for your useful presentation. Actually, from Sunway University, and I'm taking hospitality and management. And since I'm taking hospitality, so I'm working as a side of employee, right? So I have a question. When we become an entrepreneur, we have to pay sometimes, right?
Yes.
Yeah, pay sometimes, right? So when we pay some embarking, also employees has a minus image, right? yeah, like how to say, negative image for you. And what do you think about faith, including employee? What is your take?
Alright. Okay. Clocking up experience is basically working for somebody else. So before you start your first business, right, you need to experience what it's like to work for other people. But in terms of credibility, when you fail, what does it look to your employers, right? Okay. Well, in service industry, it's basically who you serve and whether you last long.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. So if you have patience in hospitality, I think you will last long. Knowing to meet the needs. So when you say fail, what do you mean by fail? So you have to look at failure and success and understand what it is in your industry or in your passion, right? So what does employees look for? What is a good hospitality look for? Is meeting the needs of your people who come into the hotel. Yes? Right? Okay. So why would you fail if you offended a customer? Right? Why would you fail? Somebody wanted something you couldn't fulfill the needs, especially in a hotel line, right? In a hotel line is you cheat the hotel. That means you've taken the money when you're not supposed to, or something like that. Especially in the kitchen and all that kind of stuff when you're doing purchasing. The integrity is very important. So if you fail integrity, whatever industry you're in, you will not work. Okay? So your integrity has to be strong. Your failure is, you have to learn from it now, but how your attitude, and when you go for the interviews or when you meet your potential employers, it's basically your attitude. So you can tell your story of failure, but this is how I overcame. Right? This is what I learned from it, the lessons from it, and so I will not do this again. When I interview, when I hear that kind of stories, I believe you better than the guy who, everything good report, everything wonderful. Because no depth, no dimension. I'm looking for somebody who has depth and dimension. So failure does not mean bad. It's how you overcome the failure that will work towards your advantage.
Including for companies.
Yes. Yes. Number one is integrity when you interview. Okay? So if you're late, okay, one thing I learned, even till today, my dad still complains about being late, being timely. When you go for the interview, if you're already late, that's it. Knocked down already. That is a negative check on your interview list. If you're late, that means your time commitment, whether you will actually be there, whether you're committed or not. So you're not that early, that's the first thing that we see. This guy is late, okay? Check negative box. That doesn't help. Very simple. Okay, sorry.
I'm Valerie. I'm actually from India, studying interior architecture. So based on what you said about Olafek and myself for your story, so I have actually questions to ask you. Okay, I'm from a country where there is architects and interior designers, but we have an architect organization, but we don't have interior design organization. So I would have liked, obviously, to open a new organization, something like MIIT manager.
Yes, interior designers,
Yeah. But the thing is that since it will be new in my country, so basically people won't believe that the project will work or not. They won't believe, like they will have doubts that the organization will be successful or not. But my question would be like, how to encourage people to come and support you, to support the project.
What I learned in Q1 is basically when you're starting somebody new, is to build credibility, is to find experts or people that people admire in your field. So when you go, is there already people that have successful interior design companies, who they are, who their owners, and then if you talk to them and ask them, do we have a voice in this nation? So if you wanted to talk to the architects, association, or we want to talk to City Hall, or we want to talk to the people who approve all the specifications in the houses, and you have new ideas to improve all of that. Who do you go to talk to? So, what we did in Kiwanis is because Kiwanis also didn't have voice, Down syndrome didn't have voice. So the first thing we did was collated the parents. So we started the Parents Association so that they help one another. Then the Parents Association needed a board as well, so that board worked with Kiwanis board, and we went to the education ministry and says that, hey, you have to pay attention to the Down syndrome kids. You cannot put them in the regular school because they are mixed up with the handicap, the deaf, the autism and Down syndrome. So they need to be taught differently. So it's bringing awareness to the problem as well. So collecting the people that is in your same industry. So even though you're a student, you're fresh, you're starting up, go back there and look at the people who are already in the industry. We want to start an association so that we have a voice, so that we can help share best practices, and so that we can help our nation grow. In order to get nation grow, we need to know what's the problem and what does the nation need. So can we do that? Can we form that? So as a young person, you can do that. All you have to do is walk the talk, go and talk to people, say, come join me, have a first meeting, and you'll never know what that first meeting is. You're planting the seed, and then you will grow. You just have to have faith, right? But collect the people that are pertinent to that industry. So even you have to bring architects who are practicing interior designer, bring them in, talk to them, and then bring more students like yourself and say, hey, we want to learn from you guys, the wise old ones. So that's why we need this organization. So do what you call strategic you sit down and plan why do you need to exist? And when you can answer that, people will see it and they will join you. That's what we did.
3 questions, but this question are related.
Can you come down so that they can hear you?
Oh, okay.
Mic is too far.
Okay, I'll make that. Okay, so my question is, when you was young, like 19, 20 years old, did you have goals? Did you think who you will be, what you will achieve when you will be like 40 or 50 years old? And what was your inspiration? You said you had a lot of failure right in your life. What was inspiring you to go further, further, further? And the last question, do you think that you are successful? And how this successful feels like?
Oh, wow. Huge question. Okay, 19 years old. Let me see. I was in England. I'm not sure whether I'm already in college. I forgot what age I was. But anyway, did I have an inclination what I wanted to do? Yes. I know I was good at arts. I loved drawing. I loved buildings. I knew I needed math to be good at architecture, so I didn't have that. So even though that was in my dream, I knew I couldn't achieve it. So what I wanted to do when I researched, when I go to college, right? You research, okay, what majors can you do, what courses they have, and I look for the courses that perked my interest. So I wanted to do art or art history. Anything that would take me drawing and go to the places that I wanted was Paris. So either England or Paris to learn art. And then when I presented it to my dad, why? He didn't see it. Of course, then nobody did art. I mean, today a lot of people do art. A lot of people do art history. A lot of people would do media, journalism, graphic design. And some of these graphic designers are get paid a lot. But the artists themselves, you have to be a genius in artists in order to work as well. I mean, in order to be successful, and people pay like hundreds of thousands and millions for your paintings. But I know I wasn't there either. But I wanted to develop that talent, to see whether I have it. That was it. That was my first step. Go for things that I was passionate in. So if I enjoy the course, I will enjoy my life journey instead of the destination. So I wanted to do that. So I didn't get to do that. That's why when I started working and I got bored, the evening classes was the first, what we call adult education, they call continuing education. Courses, the nearest to my office. I looked at whatever courses that they offered. And that's how I decided. The nearest to my office so that I didn't have to pay so much money to drive around and go to the city or whatnot. and then go for courses, and then interior design was on it. Art wasn't on it. Nothing else was on it. That was the only creative things. The others was accounting lah, finance lah, marketing lah. So those are the things that didn't perk me. That was the only thing that I could take that was creative. So I said, okay, night class for fun. So I actually signed up for it. I enjoyed it, and the teacher said, you have talent, go for it. And that's what happened. The opportunity came, doors open, people tell you, and then okay lah, listen lah. So that's what I did. I just went with the flow. If you understand what I mean. Okay. So sometimes it is that you take this walk and then you go there, and then another door open and it'll take you somewhere else. It may not be a perfect plan, but don't look backwards and say, oh yeah, I regret. I should have taken the other walk. If you regret that, then you won't end up enjoying your journey. Then all you're looking for is that destination. Don't have regrets. When you go forward, is whatever decision you make the best out of the decision. Your second question.
What was your inspiration to go further, even if you make mistakes?
Yeah, it's the people around you. The encourages, the peers of people around you. So even if your family is the one that says, no lah, cannot lah, why not lah, I don't know whether, what I did was I shut it out. I only receive the positives. Because if I receive all the negative, I will be a very different person today. I will be resentful, I will be angry, I will be, I don't know, maybe hateful, right? So whatever it is, just focus on the positive. And the last one.
Question, yes. How do you consider yourself a successful person?
Okay.
How it feels like?
I haven't ended yet, right? I'm still got many years to go. So whatever I have done, in terms of the story that I told you, I think I've overcome. And I've overcome with a positive, I gain more. That means I'm not bankrupt. I have a roof over my head. I am driving a car. I do have a car. So I have the comforts of home. I have a maid. That's all I need, you know. So I don't need I have friends that when they reach my age, right, they went and buy a Ferrari or whatever. So fun. But then the wife keeps scolding you. So not happy at home, right? So it's like, why is there a conflict? So you create your own conflict sometimes as well. But we go through life, what you call life, what?
Midlife crisis.
Midlife crisis, yes, that's the thing. We go through midlife crisis. So you guys are still young. You won't come to it too much later. So the people who have reached midlife crisis, what happened is the books that I read encourages me. So when I see stories of people who have done it and at 60 years old, wow, can learn PowerPoint and go out. I'm a Kiwanian. He was our governor. He was already 60-something years old then. Don't know internet, don't know iPhone, don't know how to use the email. But he learned it at his age. Not only that, he was so curious. He actually went and signed up for a class at Upit College, and actually had a degree, a 2-year degree in IT. At 60-something years old. So he showed me the way. If he can do it, I can do it too. So it's having that icon, having that people who kind of like encourages you. It doesn't have to be famous people in a newspaper or whatever. You know, if you look at Steve Jobs, you want to be the Steve Jobs, the Facebook guy, Zuckerberg. I know you all look at that, right? Okay, yes. Reach for the or rather, focus on the star, focus on the moon, something like that. And then even if you fall, you're among the stars, right? So your icons doesn't have to be big guys, because if your life is a destination and you end up not being a Zuckerberg, what are you going to do?